Okay, tonight we're gonna make some beef stroganoff. We're just gonna get a little bit of butter in the pan going, and we're gonna saute the beef. We'll keep some of the butter back so we can make a bit of a roux to help thicken the sauce for the beef stroganoff. We'll just let that melt down. I've had my beef marinating in some rice wine vinegar, a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, water, salt and pepper, just to help break down the meat a little bit to make it a little more tender. Okay, we can start adding the meat. It'll start to create a little bit of its own juice as it's cooking down. Get that all in there. There's not a whole lot that really goes into this dish. Obviously beef being the main one, but I'm sure you can make a chicken stroganoff if you really wanted to. And some people will even use ground beef instead of actual steak itself. We're using a sirloin tip roast that I've carved, removed all the fat, cut into thin slices instead of using steak. A little bit cheaper, and it works just as good. So we're gonna let that cook up a little bit. Don't really need it to fully brown, but we don't want it to be red in any way. While that's cooking, we'll take a little look here at some of the ingredients that we're gonna be using today. So lots of fresh garlic, about 5 cloves. Nice, some fresh garlic here that we've chopped up, about 5 cloves. Diced up onions and mushrooms. That's for the dogs later. I kept the remains, so my dogs can also enjoy a little bit of a treat tonight themselves as well. We got some cornstarch and some butter for later so we can actually thicken the sauce. Himalayan sea salt, fresh cracked pepper, Worcestershire sauce, sherry, a teaspoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of onion powder, and some beef consomme, and closer to the time I'll actually get the sour cream out that I'll use in there. We also have a little bit of poppy seeds just at the very end. We'll sprinkle them on the top as we serve the dish. Bit of a garnish. While we're cooking this, I have my water just starting to pre-boil a little bit. I prefer to use no yolk egg noodles, me being the way I am with lactose. Even though I'm using butter, I can still eat these without any type of lactose pills or that because they are dairy and egg yolk free. The nice thing is with marinating this with the Worcestershire sauce, salt, pepper, a little bit of rice wine vinegar to help break the meat down a little bit, is that it also helps to make a little bit of a broth. So it'll add some extra flavor and richness to our beef stroganoff itself. Probably have about 2.5 pounds worth of steak here that I've sliced up nice and thin. Just gonna get a bowl and put it to the side for a few seconds. Once I have the meat cooked, I actually am gonna remove it so I can start to cook the onions, the mushrooms, and the garlic, which we'll add the meat back into at some point. So at this moment, I'm gonna start to transfer this now over to a bowl here. Just gonna put my spoon below this so it doesn't splash all over the place. And then I can slowly add the meat so I don't burn myself or my videographer here, Hayden. Okay, I'm gonna return that back to the heat. Turn down the heat just a little bit. I'm now gonna add a little bit more butter so we can actually start sauteing. With this dish, it's better to use, I think, butter versus, say, an olive oil or canola oil. It adds to the richness. This dish, because you add the sour cream, because you use butter, is a very rich tasting meal to have. It adds a lot of nice flavor to your dish as well. So we're just gonna add the garlic, and I love garlic and so does my family. It's good for you, and it really does add a nice flavor. We'll add the onions in as well. Nothing makes your house smell nicer than sauteed onions and garlic. Usually gets the kids out of my house. Did I mention I feed 10 people every night? My household, my wife and I have 6 children, and my parents, we all live in one big, large house, and I cook for everyone virtually every night, mostly doing some nicer dishes on the weekend, but still trying to make nice dishes also during the week as well. A little more hectic with work and school, but we manage. Something that I like to use is, doesn't matter about the brand, but some cooking sherry. Helps to deglaze the pan. Just gonna add a little bit right now, just to speed up the process to get these onions and garlic going together. And I don't want it to stick to the bottom of the pan either. But it creates a nice bit of steam for them, and it'll help sweat it out.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna add the mushrooms. I'm gonna add the mushrooms now. Kind of got the onions and garlic. They're starting to get a little translucent, so let's add some mushrooms. Once I have the mushrooms in, I'm just gonna let them cook for a few seconds, and then I'm actually gonna add, well, those are gonna stay there. Got a couple of stove mushrooms now. They'll stay there till we clean up. Once these cook down just a little bit, I'm gonna add the meat back in, salt, pepper. I'm gonna take that all out though. I'm just gonna make a bit of a roux to make my sauce. Then I'll add everything back in. But at this moment, again, just a little bit more sherry. Just see, it helps to deglaze the pan and keep things from sticking. Adds a little bit of steam, so it helps to actually cook down your vegetables a little quicker. We'll add a little bit of salt and pepper. I think I could sit down and just eat fried mushrooms, onions, and garlic some days. I like to add a lot of fresh pepper. Okay, and we'll use some Himalayan sea salt. I do have 2 dogs too, not only with the 10 people. All right. Left in the meat, as you can see, as I pour it in. That's already gonna add some richness and flavor to it. I'll keep this bowl aside just for a few more minutes till I put this all back in there so I can create the sauce. 10 to 12 minutes to cook. And I have a big family, and they like to eat. I'm not too worried about overfilling this pot. Normally with pasta you don't want to, but the noodles cook very, very well in this pot. And I can easily get 2.5 bags in there. And the 2.5 bags will cook just fine. There we go. Put the rest to the side for another night. The juices, the onion, and the meat will all be stewing together right now. As you can see, mushrooms are starting to soften up very nicely. The meat will be nice and tender at this point. I'm just gonna turn the heat down for a second. I'm now gonna transfer this out of that pot back into this bowl. That way I can create my roux. All right, so we got all the meat and that out of there. Turn the heat back up again. I don't feel like burning myself. I'm just gonna put this mixture off to the side again. We'll add the remaining butter to the pan. Yes, I know it looks like a lot of butter, but who doesn't like fresh butter? I guess. Just 1 second, I'll be right back. I'm gonna get the sour cream. 5% sour cream, a little lower in fat. I prefer a 5% sour cream. It's a little lower in fat, just to counter the butter. So I'm not gonna make a full roux here. I'm gonna kind of make a bit of a cheater roux, but it'll work all the same. So I'm actually using cornstarch right now instead of flour. And I'm gonna add, again, so I've probably added maybe a 1/4 cup of sherry in total so far. I'm gonna add probably about another 1/4 cup right now. We're gonna just give this a little stir together. Just gonna add a little bit of water, 3/4 of a can of water to it right now. Get my whisk. Gonna add probably close to half of this sour cream. So we'll call that probably a solid cup and a 1/4 of sour cream. I'm also gonna add the garlic and onion powder, again about a teaspoon of each. And here we'll add Worcestershire sauce. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tablespoons. And obviously you can see I'm very accurate. Give this another little stir up. I'm gonna turn the heat down a little bit now. I'm gonna add my meat mixture back in with my onions, mushrooms, garlic, and meat. One last thing I'm going to do before we're all done here. I'm actually gonna steal a little bit of my noodle juice out of here. Just a little bit. I'm gonna add a little more fresh cracked pepper. There we go. Okay, so we can see the sauce now is thickened up, which will obviously help to coat the noodles, making it easier to pick it up with your fork. All right, I'm just gonna turn the heat down a little bit. I'm gonna prepare the noodles. Okay, here we go. I'm just gonna plate some up now. I wanna make sure everybody gets a little bit of everything. That's my dog sneezing in the background. There we go. Just slide over here a little bit. Add a little bit of poppy seeds. Okay, here we go. Beef stroganoff. I hope you enjoy and come on back next week. Have a good night.